All right, ladies and gentlemen, history is being rewritten before our very eyes. The U.S. government just dropped 80,000 pages of classified documents on the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Now, Donald Trump said this last night that he was going to drop this today. I've been anxiously waiting all day to look at this, review this, and get you as much information as I can, as quick as I can. So, but before you get too excited, let's be real. Did they actually tell us the truth? Nah, not a chance. They still won't release all the files for national security, they say. Now, 60 years later, and we're still being fed crumbs while they keep the whole damn loaf locked up. But what we do have in these newly released documents, and it's enough to make you question everything. You talking CIA cover-ups, second shooter theories, Mafia involvement, and this isn't some long gunman nonsense like they want you to believe. So let's break it all down, expose the deep state's lies, and figure out just how far this rabbit hole really goes. Now, the CIA, let's talk about them first up, because according to the files, they already had eyes all over Lee Harvey Oswald well before. They already had him in their in their grasp, man. But for some reason, all that juicy intel got lost when it mattered the most. Okay. The newly released documents confirm what many of us have already suspected, that the CIA was tracking Oswald's movements. They knew exactly that he was making sketchy visits to the Soviet and Cuban embassies in Mexico City. They had reports of him meeting with KGB operatives. And what did they do with that information? Nothing, nada. They just filed it away like it was some grocery list instead of a giant red flag. Now, this is something a lot of us already knew, but what we didn't know is that they knew this information and they did not feed it to any other agencies, which was obviously a big key to this. Now, if you believe the official story, Oswald was just some lone, unhinged gunman, right? No. But this sounds more like a guy who was either working for somebody or but just being set up to take a fall, okay? If you look at these files, that's what it seems to be. He was just a pawn. But guess what? The Warren Commission, the official investigation into JFK's murder, didn't get these details. I wonder why that is. Probably because he was a pawn, right? Now, second shooter theory. Okay, we've talked about the grassy knoll. I try to get a picture of the grassy knoll, but whatever. You've seen it 100 times. The official story tells us that Oswald fired 3 shots from the Texas school book depository. But these new files, they just made the second shooter theory a whole lot stronger. Eyewitness testimonies buried in the files report shots coming from the grassy knoll. And we're talking about multiple witnesses who said the sound and angle didn't match Oswald's supposed location. Some even reported seeing suspicious figures lurking near the fence. You know, the kind of details that could have blown the whole long gunman theory to pieces, but conveniently they ignored them. Even the House Select Committee on Assassinations back in 1979 admitted that scientific acoustic evidence suggested a high probability of multiple gunmen. So why are we still pretending this was a one-man job? Because it definitely was not. Now, number 3, the Mafia was involved. Obviously, you probably got an inkling of this from Jack Ruby. But this is my favorite part, because it wouldn't be a proper American conspiracy without the mob. For decades, we've heard whispers about Mafia involvement in JFK's assassination. And thanks to these new documents, those whispers just turned into screaming sirens. The files confirm that mobsters like Carlos Marcello and Santo Trafficante Jr. had not just motive, but connections to people within the government who wanted Kennedy dead also. There's wiretaps, transcripts that show actual discussions among high-ranking crime bosses about taking Kennedy out. Think about it. JFK's brother, Bobby Kennedy, was cracking down hard on organized crime. The Mafia had every reason to want both of them dead. And what happens? JFK gets assassinated, and then Bobby meets the same fate a few years later. Coincidence? Nah. We don't do coincidences here, right? We all have our tinfoil hats. Now, number 4, Oswald and his Cuban ties. Now, Oswald's connections to Cuba, because the files go deep into his attempts to defect and his interactions with pro-Castro groups. We already knew Oswald tried to get a Cuban visa by visiting their embassy in Mexico City, but what we didn't know how deep those connections ran. These files confirm that he was actively engaging with pro-Castro organizations, even handing out pro-Cuba flyers in New Orleans. But here's the kicker, guys. Really pro-communist sympathizer, or was he just playing that role? Because if you wanted a perfect patsy to pin the crime on, a crazy communist defector would be just the kind of guy you would want to set up. Okay. Number 5, the FBI knew Oswald would be killed. Yeah, they sure did. This is something that's the most truly creepy of it all, is the FBI received a tip before Oswald was murdered saying that Jack Ruby was going to take him out. That's right. Someone actually called in and said Oswald would not make it to trial. And yet the FBI did absolutely nothing to stop it. Sounds familiar, right? It's almost like the same way they say that Epstein mysteriously disappeared. It's wild how these things keep happening. Now, number 6 is the government is still hiding files. This is the biggest slap in the face. After this, and after damn near 60 years, the government is still holding back files. The National Archives straight up admitted that some of the records are still being withheld under court seal for grand jury secrecy 60 years later, or because of tax laws. Tax laws. Are you freaking kidding me? What did Oswald write off? His bullets, his business expenses? Give me a freaking break. They're using tax laws and to withhold information. And just like that, we're still left with more questions than answers. Now, while we're talking about withheld documents, where the hell are the Epstein files? We can get 80,000 pages of JFK's assassination 60 years later, but the biggest child trafficking ring in modern history, nope, that's locked up airtight. Even Pam Bondi said on Fox News, I have all the files on my desk and they're truly disturbing. We're going to release them at the end of the week. And they released a phase 1 BS file. They released it with the influencers. Remember where they had the binders and it was just basically a telephone book of information that was released 4 years ago. But it was so disturbing. Nothing's been disturbing. And then she says that, oh, well, the DOJ has them. Cash Patel is supposed to get them to me by 3 weeks ago, Friday, and never received them. And then she comes out and says, you know, for national security, we're not going to release some of the stuff. Who exactly are they protecting? Now, I'm glad to see Donald Trump release that message last night. I've been patiently waiting all day for the JFK files to be released. And honestly, I'm losing a little faith, guys. I'm becoming black-pilled, and I wanted to do another video today about us basically about to go to war. And it seems like everyone's not America first or Israel first right now. Truthfully, if you look at all, I mean, even Trump, I mean, all of it, I'm getting black-pilled, man. I'm losing faith. So please give me some comments to help cheer me back up, because I'm really starting to get upset as the way these things are going. We're focusing on things that are not really important. They're important, but they're not really priority for Americans. And number 2, man, if we want to take out the deep state, we need the Epstein files. Who are they protecting? Because it sure the hell ain't us. It ain't us. Now, I want to talk a minute just about how this whole mess is playing out like a real-life Thomas Crooks novel, right? You've got shadowy figures government cover-ups, mafia ties, and a patsy who happens to just get silenced right before he can talk, except this ain't fiction. This is real life. And the same deep state tactics they used back then, they're still using today, guys. Now, what does all this mean? It means the story we've been told for the past 6 years was never the full truth. And it means there were powerful forces at play that we're only now beginning to understand. And most of all, it means that if they can do this to a sitting U.S. president, imagine what they can do to the rest of us, and imagine what they're still doing. This deep state has been alive and well forever. It's almost like Hell Hydra in the Marvel series, man. This has been going on forever, and I don't know that it'll get dismantled. Again, I'm feeling black-pilled, guys. I really am. I don't think it's going to get dismantled. I think we've only got a little bit of a break. You know, we've had some executive orders written about men not playing in women's sports, which I agree shouldn't have. But when are we going to nail this deep state? When are we going to start funding other wars? Matter of fact, Ukraine funding just got turned back on today, by the way. I don't know if you saw that. It just got turned back on. Now, so let me know in the comments. Do you believe Oswald acted alone? Or was this one of the biggest cover-ups in history, aside from Thomas Crooks? And if you want more breakdowns like this, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, that bell icon, and we're just getting started, guys. We're just getting started. Stay vigilant. Always question, guys, everything. Always question the narrative. Always question what you're being told, because I promise you, most of what us as Americans have been told throughout our lives has been a lie. Anyway, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Remember to stay frosty, stay strapped, and always stay dangerous, my friends. Take